As somebody that's in the United States, I won't be anywhere close to being affected nearly as much as the people who watch my channel and the people I've known and become friends with that are inside of the European Union. The reason I want to say that is so you know this video is not biased. Well, of course it is a little bit, but it's not really biased to the point where I'm going to be gone. Unfortunately, that is a real possibility for a lot of people, and it's even possible that this whole Article 13 will lead to the destruction directly of the European Union's economy and a lot of jobs. Now, in case you've been living under a rock, the European Union Parliament, I believe is what it's called, is planning on passing what's called the Article 13, or as I've learned to call it, the Copyright Holders Got Salty Law. With this law, if it passes, I believe it will force YouTube to completely ban almost every content creator that is based in the European Union and shut down most of its services there. A really good example of this is not the European Union directly, but Spain had a law passed very recently where they ended up having different regulations put in place, and Google News, just instead of trying to change the rules to apply to just Spain and a couple other nations alone, they decided to take down the whole service in Spain altogether. Now, with Article 13, if that gets passed, any use of movies or music or videos or anything along those lines without the direct permission of the copyright holder will be considered a violation of the Europeans' new law, and if it's passed, that's pretty much just going to kill it off altogether. Now, people have been misusing copyright laws for years and just making new versions and tweaking and everything, so people right now are probably wondering, why would this be any different? Everybody said this kind of stuff in the past, it's just going to kill off the internet, it never has, there's really no major differences that's taken place. Why would this be different? The reason it would be so different is because the main point of this law changes how people are going to be held responsible for violating the law. Currently, if let's say Jake Saul over here has a YouTube channel and he has 100 million subscribers and he likes to make movie reviews. If Zony has a problem with his content review of Saving Private Ryan, then they would go directly after him, and if they want to, they could sue him directly and take action against his channel directly. Now, because usually it was somebody who either A, didn't have a lot of income, or B, was a very small YouTube channel, the music companies would see almost no income back from any of the songs, or the movie companies would see no income come back from those movies and wouldn't really be worth it. So instead, the law is changing how people can be held responsible. Now, instead of just suing that person directly or having legal action against them, now the companies can take action against the content host, which in this case, that means Zony could sue YouTube for allowing him to upload his content to their platform and not take an action first. Now, if you're still not convinced, or you think that, oh, I don't have a YouTube and I don't really use this very often. I'm only on here looking up how to make a cake for my grandson's wedding, and I'm looking up videos on whatever otherwise, like Facebook or Instagram, and instead, I'm just on here looking for a way to make a Star Wars themed cake. First off, Star Wars themed cakes probably wouldn't be allowed, because it's got Star Wars in it, and then it could cause issues just like that. As silly as that sounds, that's how ridiculous this law is. But it wouldn't just be affecting YouTube. It would also affect Instagram, Reddit, Twitter, Imgur, SoundCloud, and Facebook. Any platform that people can upload pictures or music or sounds or videos to, anything along those lines could be held responsible. Which means the same platform could be affected because of 3 or 4 people deciding one day, hey, let's make a Despacito 3. And they upload Despacito 3 on there, right? Well, then if the person who made Despacito says, hey, this is not supposed to be the case, I'm going to sue YouTube for $5 million for each one of these videos on there. That's what this law would literally allow people to do. And because there's so much content being uploaded to YouTube, there's no way for them to be able to monitor it all. Now, this is where I think it can lead to the direct devastation of the European economy and the economy of many nations throughout the world just because of this stupid bill. I think it was about 400 hours of content is uploaded to YouTube every minute, and it is completely impossible for YouTube to be able to monitor that kind of content. And since one violation alone could cost YouTube millions of dollars, this would leave YouTube with no choice but to simply stop people from uploading and showing the videos inside of the European Union. That means no tutorials on how to fix the TV, if you should buy this car or not, know how to cook the special type of meal you're looking for, and that's not where it stops either. It also affects news groups on YouTube and news channels and all different kinds of things like that. It would make it to where news would come out days or weeks ahead of time or behind the date of the news event happening, because it would have to be reviewed some way. And because it's possible YouTube would have to just totally block the service altogether over there instead of risking millions of dollars because of the chance of one person messing something up, that would literally lead to a censorship of people's freedom of speech, in my opinion. It would just I know the European Union doesn't really have freedom of speech laws and all that compared to us over here, but That's so ridiculous that it would lead to this much censorship, that everything would have to be reviewed, and it's possible, like I said, YouTube wouldn't even be able to take the risk from any business standpoint. Nobody's going to risk the millions of dollars when they can just shut off the service over there altogether. Now, this is where it gets really, really, really bad. A recent poll in the United States, so I don't know how it is over there, but it says before making a purchase of more than $100, people, around 80% of the people who are going to make the purchase, look up a review on that product first, especially if it's something they see online. And depending on that product, that person would buy it or not. And out of that 80%, somebody asked in the poll, if you didn't see a video, what are the chances you would still make that purchase of over $100? It was only 15% of the people said they would still make the purchase if they had no review of a video or something going over it first. If that number is correct, and it does the same thing in the European Union as it does over here for just $100, that means car sales are going to just crash over there. That means sales for water heaters, houses, appliances, Xboxes, PlayStations, televisions, cell phones. There will be so many ramifications upon the economy over there just because of these people who decided, let's make sure the music and video industry are happy over our own citizens. Another horrifying thought about this too is when I was saying a minute ago about the whole thing about news agencies and stuff like that would be affected on YouTube. Think about this. In case people haven't really been following it, but there was a gas hike in France recently, and there was major protests in France, and there's a lot of videos of these protests where cars are lit on fire, where there's fires in the streets and things of people just almost in riots, but they just kept calling them protests. Now, can you imagine, because of the way this law would work, they have to get all the videos and everything together to actually show it. They would have to get permission from the owners of photos and videos to show it. That could take days, weeks, months, or even years for certain content. And when you really get down and think about it, can you imagine the horror of somebody if that law was in place right now and somebody went outside their house in Paris because, hey, I smell smoke, is there a barbecue somewhere? And they walk outside and they see people marching down the street in a full protest with police throwing tear gas at them and fires in the street. If it was my case, I would be horrified thinking it was World War III and call the, I wouldn't know what to do. It would be absolutely, it's ridiculous. The thought of how far this law could reach is ridiculous, and it could literally shut down YouTube and stop content for millions of people. And you know, the most ironic thing about this, in my opinion, it's made to protect the music and video copyright holders, but it's going to hurt them more than anybody else, because from now on, nobody's going to ask, hey, that looks like a really funny movie you're doing a review on. What's the name of that movie? Hey, that's an awesome song. What is that song from? I see it all the time in the comments of videos on channels like, for example, movie theories or game theories and all those kind of content and so like that. People always ask, hey, what's that game? What's that movie? What's that song? And because of this law, they're going to pretty much be pushing the great movies and songs into like a dark corner in a room and just leave it there, and it's just going to die out. There's so many songs and movies I love that I did not know about, and I saw a clip from somewhere and I asked what name of that movie was, and I ended up watching it and enjoying it. A great example of this is a World War II movie I saw a long time ago. It's called Europa, Europa, and it's based on a true story about a Jewish kid who was in the Poland ghetto. And he was able to get out, and he literally lied and said when he escaped to Russia that he was a German, like he was born in Germany, he was born from Berlin or something like that, and got enlisted in the German army. And it is a true story, and it is one of my favorite movies to date. But because of the EU copyright laws, I wouldn't have seen that clip from so long ago and found out about that movie. And it just boggles my mind on what kind of, I'm not meaning to disrespect people here, but what kind of idiots for any side could think that this could help their industry. It would cost so many jobs in Europe too, especially people who do things like work on internet servers, people over there who work on news stories, people who work on videos. It would cost their economy millions, if not billions of dollars. It would censorship freedom of speech, which I know, like I said, you guys don't have over there, but it's ridiculous. It is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. It is worse than the FTC rules that they were getting passed and everything recently in the United States. This is so much worse and so stupid. It's ridiculous. And, you know, I know a lot of people in the comments are going to say the same stuff I've been seeing on YouTube. People are going to say things like, oh, YouTube neglected their own copyright system and now this has happened because of them. Or they're glad Article 13 is passing to teach YouTube a lesson. I, like a lot of people, agree the system is flawed. I agree that it needs some work. But you know what? This is not a solution. The solution isn't to do a total blackout and stop the content, and the EU knows this. YouTube has announced that they would be left with no choice but to stop the service altogether over there like they did with Google News in Spain. They would have to stop the service, and they're still going on with it. After Google News has told them, Google has told them, Facebook has told them, and this is Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of Facebook, said the same thing, that they would have to pretty much almost stop the entire service over there altogether. This is going to do something that is ridiculous. This is going to make Europe look like this is going to make it look almost like Nazi Germany. As ridiculous as that sounds, because you're going to be essentially having martial law in effect on the internet in the European Union, where people can't post things on social media because they've blocked the service out, essentially because they left them with no choice but to stop it. They have no choice. There's no company on earth that can sit through hundreds of hours of content a minute without having more jobs than there would be almost people on the planet. That would be like every third, fourth, or fifth person on the planet working directly for Google, watching content to see if it's okay. I am not blaming YouTube for this at all. I am blaming the music and the video industry that has decided, you know what, we aren't getting enough money. We would rather tell Google to just stop the service over here and let us get 5% more money. But hey, if it costs the European Union and all these content creators throughout the world 50 or 80% of their income and block out all the people in the European Union from ever watching any of their content again until this law is repealed, nah, who cares? We got an extra 5%. That is how I feel about this. And you know what? That is the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen in my life, is this ruling and this law this passed. You know, before I end this, I just want to say one thing. The way we can stop this is there are petitions out there. Easily look them up online. There's change.org petitions. There's all different kinds. And you know what? If you are in the European Union and you were watching this before, I believe it's January 2019, when the vote is like the 1st or the 2nd, if you can, go to Twitter, find your representative to the Nations, find your representative to the European Union and tell them in a message, simply ask them, I don't like this law. I don't like what this is going to do to the internet. This is going to restrict our freedom over in this country. This is wrong. This should not be a thing. This is going to have such great ramifications and impacts upon everything from the economy to people's lives that this should not be a thing. Anyway, well, I think that's about where I should end it there. So guys, thank you for watching. Good luck. And hopefully I'll see you guys next time.